You need to sign to a record label, otherwise you won't get on any Spotify editorial playlists. And you need to release a new song every week and post on social media every day, otherwise your music career is not going to grow. All of these statements are false, and I'm going to bust these myths today on the Smart Music Business channel. My name's Chris Greenwood, also known as the artist Manifest. I've been doing music for over 20 years full-time. I currently have about 600,000 monthly listeners, and I just love helping artists with their music careers. So let's start by busting this first myth about editorial playlists. I've gotten dozens and dozens of them over the years, and I'm an independent artist. I'm not signed to a record label, and I know lots of other artists that are independent and crushing it getting editorial playlists all the time. The number one thing that I feel that works to getting editorial playlists is, number one, you have to pitch for it. Okay, if you don't pitch for it, you're not going to get it. And you got to go to your artists.spotify.com dashboard to do that. And I find when you give them more time to pitch the song, it increases your chances. Because remember, there are 100,000 songs uploaded daily, and so you want to increase your chances by getting in there early. I like to do 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. So that means you have to schedule the song ahead of time, all right, so that you can get your pitch in, so that it gives time for the editorial team to look at the song, to listen to the song, and so that you actually have a chance on getting on a playlist. Now, I like to have fun in the actual pitching tool. I don't like to always have this long marketing thing. I like to actually tell a story about the song. I try to make them laugh when I'm pitching the song, and I also want to make sure I'm very on point with my pitch as far as genre, the mood, okay, of the song, because they ask you these questions when you're pitching the song, and I like to be right on target. Sometimes when I find my song is more Christian leaning, because I'm a Christian artist, and so some of my songs are a little bit more Christian leaning, some are not at all, but if it is, it asks me if the song is Christian, and so I do. And so sometimes I'll get more of a Christian leaning playlist, like a New Christian Friday, or just a regular New Music Friday. Or if my song's more metal or rock, I find we get the rock playlist. But I also find out that the more consistent you are in the genre, the more likely you are to start getting on those playlists. Like I find when I started releasing more singles leading up to my album, I found I started to get more playlists in that genre, and it was more consistent. So consistency wins, but that doesn't mean, and this goes to myth number 2, is that you got to be releasing a song every week. We were releasing a song every 2 to 3 weeks sometimes, every month, and we were still getting playlists. But what's really, really, really important is not just releasing the songs, but what are you doing to market the songs in between? I heard this quote, and I talked about it on my Spotify 5-day challenge, which I'll put the link below if you want to take that, is that a song isn't successful because it got an editorial playlist. A song got an editorial playlist because it was successful. So the song did well, so then it got on the editorial playlist, okay? It didn't do well because it got the editorial playlist. It did well beforehand because it was in the data. Spotify's always looking at the data, right? It's like a data algorithm machine, and it needs data to know, like, wow, people are saving this song. People are sharing this song. They're listening to it all the way through. It's got a really low skip rate, right? It's looking at all these things. And so it's like, we got to give this thing a chance. This thing's performing. So let's test it out on this editorial playlist. Let's start sharing it via our algorithm. And one of the biggest myths that a lot of people think is, okay, because I got an editorial playlist, I'm now going to be huge and I'm now going to blow up. Sometimes you land an editorial playlist and you're not on it for very long. You're on it for a week and you get this massive spike, but maybe your song didn't perform well, and so now it drops off. But what I've noticed that doesn't drop off and continues to blow up and give me 80% of my streams is the algorithm. That's right, Spotify's algorithm that shares your song via Release Radar, now the DJ, through weekly mixes, on all their other algorithmic playlists. Radio is a big one. right? And especially if you submit your song to Spotify Discovery Mode, which I'll get into in a minute, now your song is getting shared to a whole new audience. But at the beginning, if you're a new artist or you're a small artist, you've got to feed Spotify some data. So how are you going to get people to listen to your song? Maybe you're running actual Spotify ads. We have the Spotify ad templates training below. Maybe you want to run Facebook ads and Instagram ads to drive traffic to a Spotify playlist that you control that has all your catalog in it. So you're driving people to the song. You're forcing people to go listen to the song so Spotify can get some data on your song. You can grow your fan base, because this is the thing. If someone listens to one song and they like it and they love it, they're going to check out your other catalog. I do this all the time. I'm checking the new release radar. I'm checking a new artist when I hear their stuff and I really like it. I'm like, what else do they got? What else do they got? And if you've only got one song or two songs, I guess I can't really stream that much, right? Because you don't have much. And so honestly, that's capping you at how much money you can make if you've only got two songs. So maybe you're at the point where you need to build your catalog a bit more and you need to release some more songs, right? And so don't go off this myth where it's like, yo, I gotta get on editorial playlists and then I'm gonna be successful. No. Your song is successful not because it had an editorial playlist, but because fans were reacting to it. So your real goal is, get editorial playlists. Those help. It's helped my career. It's been great. It's helped trigger other things. We want to aim for that, but that's not the holy grail. It's really the long term and triggering the algorithm. The next myth I want to bust is Spotify Discovery Mode. And Spotify Discovery Mode is underneath your campaigns. There's a tab there that you click on that says Spotify Discovery Mode, and you can opt in your songs that are eligible so that now Spotify's algorithm can start sharing your song out to more fans. And yes, they charge a 30% commission, but I've noticed that the little commission that they take versus the new listeners and the streams I get far outweigh that tiny little commission. Like, I'm looking at my August report right now, and I can see I got 2,063 new listeners. And they describe that as the number of listeners who hadn't streamed your music anywhere on Spotify in the last 2 years. Okay, so in just 1 month, I got 2,063 new people to listen to my music that haven't listened to me in 2 years. Like 2,000 people. Have you ever performed for 2,000 people? I have, and it's incredible. So imagine all of a sudden being in front of 2,000 people, right? So like that's priceless to me, right? Especially when I don't have to pay for it out of my pocket up front. Sure, it's 30% royalties, but that's just the first stream. What happens when they listen to the song again or listen to other songs? Like, it's just the initial first stream. We had 42 playlist ads and we had 66 saves. Now, a playlist ad is the number of listeners who added a song to a playlist after hearing it in discovery mode context. Okay, that's not even later on. And the saves, the number of listeners who saved a song after hearing it in discovery mode. Okay, which is freaking huge, right? And then overall audience growth, we got 11,754 listeners. The total number of unique listeners streaming from discovery mode context, okay, including new listeners. So some of the listeners might have listened to my music, but maybe they wouldn't have listened to it if it hadn't been shared. Like maybe they listened to my music a month ago or 6 months ago, but now discovery mode went back and grabbed them and pulled them in. So I really suggest that you opt in your songs that are eligible. Now, for eligibility, a song has to be released at least 30 days. Why? Because the song needs a certain amount of data in streams to be able to be eligible for Spotify Discovery Mode, okay? Like, it needs data, right? And I forget how many streams it needs. I think it needs, like, you need 2,500 streams or 2,500 followers or something like that. But the point is like, you need a certain amount of streams so Spotify can look at the data. Like, it's always looking at the data to say, okay, males are listening to this by this age, or a certain amount of females are listening to this at this age. Okay, based on those attributes, we have a perfect profile of who would listen to this. People who listen to this artist also listen to these artists. So they got this whole profile on the artist. So they're like, let's go test and show this song in front of this person. And now all of a sudden they're reacting and listening to your song. And like, what is so important to Spotify and even other social media platforms is that people are having a good experience, right? Like, they're getting served a song that they'd actually listen to. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want Taylor Swift served to me, or certain artists that I don't listen to served to me. I want the right artists in the songs that I'm into served to me. So Spotify's using all this data to show your song. And this is the same thing with like Facebook, and why it's so powerful to be running Facebook and Instagram ads, because especially when you're running a conversion campaign where someone has taken a specific action, and Facebook or Instagram can track that. Well, based on like who's responding to your ad, it's going to show it to the people that are most likely to respond to it, and not show it to people who aren't. So if you target, let's say, like 1 million people, maybe there's 500,000 people that are actually likely to respond. So it's actually using your budget wisely so it doesn't waste it. Okay, I talk about this in the Spotify 5-day challenge. I'll put the link below. I also talk about it in my Facebook ad templates. But you got to understand that like advertising is so powerful. Social media ads are so advanced that they want to spend your money wisely as the advertiser, so they're not wasting your money showing it to people that don't even care. And they're also very concerned about the consumer who's on there, and they're not getting served ads that don't make sense. The last myth I want to bust here today is royalties. Okay, now there's 2 types of royalties that are generated when someone's listening to your song on Spotify or Apple Music. And that's the master royalty, which is the larger piece of the pie. It's like about 3-4 times bigger, okay, than the other royalty that's generated, which is the publishing. Okay, the publishing is the songwriters. The master is who owns the master recording, who paid for the record. Okay, if that's you, then there's a good chance you own that. If you did a 50-50 with a producer, that means it's split between you and another artist, or other producer, 50-50. But that's the bigger side. The publishing side is, again, the songwriters. Who did you write it with? Okay, and so these royalties are generated every single time someone streams your song or downloads it on iTunes. And you want to understand that there's a lot of money to be made on streaming, okay? But you just need a lot of streams, right? You need to blow up that song. You need to start getting in the hundreds of thousands, millions of streams of your song. And I want you to know that it's freaking possible. I want to encourage and inspire you that you can do this. We all started with 0 subscribers, 0 streams, but a song can pop off. It can be promoted. Sometimes it takes longer than you think it will take, but that's the cool thing about this game. Like, we just had a song in the Olympics not too long ago. We've had songs take off our radio. We've had songs go viral, not because I posted them, but because fans posted them. Maybe it was because I hired a social influencer, or I don't know how someone found a song, but normally because I promoted it somehow. All right, I didn't just hope, but it finally took off. And sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 2 years, sometimes it takes 3 years. But right now we got Shazam's going crazy in China for a song. We've got it going crazy in Paris. We have things just popping off in different countries because I've been promoting for so long and I've been staying in the game. And now there's this thing called momentum, and so now stuff is just happening. But you've got to stay in the game long enough. You've got to stop doing this start and then stop. And then I'm taking my music seriously, and then I'm not for a while. Like, you got to keep your foot on the gas long enough and hard enough until your plane takes off. I like to say a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. Your story's not done yet because you're watching this video. And maybe you're going through a tough time right now. Well, I want to encourage you to write through those pains, write through those difficulties. God has always kept my faith on taking action. The Bible actually says that faith without works is dead. So don't just be someone who watches this video and gets inspired and then does nothing. And then you just watch another video. Like, take action. Look at your career. Give your music career an audit. What are you not doing? And what you need to do that's going to move your career forward? What do you keep doing that's not working? Like maybe you need to change and stop doing the same thing. The Bible also talks about someone that it keeps, like a dog, keeps going back to its own vomit all the time. Like, do you keep going back to the same negative people? Do you keep having the same negative attitude? Oh, this can work for this artist, but it can't work for me. Oh, only them. No, there's a calling on your life. I believe God's knocking on the door saying, hey, let's get this dream out there. Like, you're not watching this video just because, you just want to get inspired. No, you want something to change. Well, this video's here now. What are you going to do about it? What's 3 things you can do for your career and move it forward? What we like to say here is no plan B. God didn't bring you this far just to quit now. When you're thinking about giving up, remember why you got started in the first place.